Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to take you on a journey today into a true forensic mystery of the ancient world. 4,000 years ago, a massive Bronze Age titan breathed its last. We're talking about the Indus Valley Civilization, an incredibly advanced society that was, amazingly, completely forgotten by history until the 1920s. Today, we've managed to recover their sprawling cities from the dust, but their sudden, mysterious disappearance has puzzled researchers for a century. So what actually happened to them?
Well, to truly grasp the magnitude of what was lost, we first need to understand the sheer, breathtaking physical scale of this civilization, 1 million. The Indus Valley Civilization covered over 1 million square kilometers of territory across South Asia. This wasn't just some loose collection of small villages, folks. This was a colossal, interconnected society. Now, what's really interesting about this is, when we think of the ancient world, our minds usually jump straight to the pyramids of ancient Egypt or the grand ziggurats of Mesopotamia. But get this, the territory of the Indus Valley was vastly larger than the empires of Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. They were, without a doubt, the largest urban culture of the entire ancient world. Yet despite their sprawling cities, their global reach, and their massive engineering marvels, their intimate thoughts, their records, their daily worries, they're completely locked away from us. Why? Because of exactly 419 unique script signs. They left behind a brilliant code beautifully carved into magnificent stamp seals, and to this day, that script remains completely undeciphered. It's like a giant puzzle we simply cannot crack, meaning the voice of this massive empire remains entirely silent.
Which brings us right to the central dramatic question of our forensic investigation today. Why would a civilization this advanced, this sprawling, and this wildly successful simply walk away? Was it a violent, apocalyptic end brought on by enemies, or a slow, calculated retreat? To find out, we need to examine the evidence.
Section 1. The Victim's Profile. The Goldilocks Era.
Okay, let's dive into this.
Around 3000 BCE, cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were emerging into their absolute peak. They were essentially the New York and London of the Bronze Age, though honestly arguably with much better plumbing. They boasted meticulous street grids, multi-storied baked brick houses, and incredibly complex, covered sanitation drains that literally wouldn't be seen again for centuries. And these weren't isolated settlements. They were thriving centers of global commerce. The Sumerians actually called the Indus region Meluha, and they relied heavily on them for luxury exports like ivory, carnelian, and copper. The Indus people built a vast, international economic engine. But how did they achieve the stability to build such an empire? Well, they exploited what scientists call a Goldilocks climate window. They experienced 2,000 years of environmental stability, and surprisingly, it was actually fueled by a weakening monsoon. Normally, the Indus River and its tributaries were wild, destructive, and super flood-prone. But this weakening monsoon tamed the floodwaters just enough, creating a perfect climate sweet spot that allowed for reliable, massive agricultural surpluses. They built their towering cities on this perfect balance of water and sun.
Section 2. The Forensic Clues. Cracks in the Bones.
But, as we all know, climates change. The same climate window that invited their rapid rise inevitably began to close. And the very first microscopic evidence of trouble wasn't written in ancient texts. It was found hiding right in the teeth of the dead. Modern isotopic science has allowed researchers to run laser scans across tooth enamel found in urban cemeteries, revealing a shocking anomaly: social hybrids. Imagine being sent off as a kid just to secure a copper trade deal. Nearly all the individuals sampled in these great urban cemeteries were immigrants who had arrived as children. This points to a fascinating, rigid social institution of fosterage, where children were sent from distant highland trading partners to be raised in the lowland megacities. This was how they secured their vital trade alliances, through blood, kinship, and these social hybrids. But as the environmental pressure started mounting, this incredibly complex social fabric began tearing apart from the inside out. The archaeological layers tell a truly tragic story of civic decay. Those world-famous drains, once the absolute pride of their civic engineering, no longer maintained, just choked with debris. The grand city walls began eroding away. The administrative power of the elite simply faded. The society was failing from within.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds: the macro evidence, droughts, and restless rivers.
We're going to shift our focus now from the microscopic decay of social alliances and human teeth to massive, undeniable environmental catastrophes captured deep within ancient stalagmites and lake sediments. For decades, archaeologists searched for a single dramatic, catastrophic event that wiped them out overnight. But the timeline of this collapse reveals a much more agonizing reality. The civilization endured relentless environmental pressure over a millennium. 4 major droughts struck them, starting 4,450 years ago, hitting again 4,000 years ago, and continuing all the way to 3,400 years ago. This wasn't a sudden collapse, folks. It was a slow, suffocating squeeze. In fact, one of these devastating droughts lasted for exactly 113 years, aligning perfectly with the final deurbanization of their great cities.
And this next statistic is just staggering. A massive 91% of the Indus territory was affected by these intense dry spells. 91%! Imagine almost your entire sprawling empire turning into a scorched, unpredictable landscape. Their bumper crop surpluses, the very fuel that kept their megacities alive and their trade networks humming, simply vanished. People had to abandon the outskirts and desperately crowd closer to the shrinking rivers.
Eventually, even the rivers betrayed them, making them victims of avulsion, which is a sudden shift in a river's course. You see, the Indus region sits on a restless, giant fault line. Active tectonic warping triggered these massive avulsions. So, as if the failing rains weren't bad enough, the Earth itself was bucking beneath their feet, suddenly stranding thriving, completely water-dependent megacities in the middle of a totally waterless desert.
Section 4. Debunking the false confession. The invasion myth.
Now, for a long time, historians simply didn't have this climate data to understand the real killer. So for years, the popular historical narrative blamed a violent external force. It was the big, dramatic question on everyone's mind. Was it a violent conquest? Did hordes of invaders sweep down from the mountains and destroy the New York and London of the Bronze Age, putting an end to the Indus people?
And this brilliantly illustrates where modern science completely rewrites our understanding of history. Groundbreaking DNA research led by Dr. Neeraj Rai and his team analyzed human remains from the region, and their genomic analysis completely debunked the old Aryan invasion theory. They proved indigenous continuity. There was absolutely no mass population replacement by conquerors. The people of the Indus were not slaughtered by a foreign army.
So, the crucial point is, the Harappans didn't die violently. They executed a brilliant, calculated migration to survive a changing planet. First, they made the incredibly difficult choice to abandon their failing megacities. Next, they migrated eastward toward the Ganges Basin, systematically searching for a region where the monsoon rains actually remained reliable. And finally, they evolved. They didn't stubbornly cling to a broken urban model. They dispersed into smaller, far more sustainable farming communities.
Section 5. The twist ending. Survival and legacy.
The Indus Valley Civilization didn't just vanish into the sands of time as some failed experiment. Not at all. They transformed their entire identity to carry their traditions, skills, and incredibly resilient genes forward. They literally became the foundation of modern South Asia, and the physical legacy they left behind is still right here with us, hiding in plain sight. They left behind the Indus Mega Ridge, a breathtaking 1,000-kilometer mounded plain of sediment that stands 10 to 20 meters high. It's a massive, silent monument constructed by the Earth and human history, holding their ruined cities right near the surface. It's a literal shadow of a world that was once the absolute pinnacle of human achievement.
As we finally learn to read the story written in this ridge, in their ancient lake beds, and in their very bones, we're left with a truly powerful realization. The story of the Indus is a mirror for our own time. This isn't just dry, ancient history. This is a profound story about how even the greatest, most technologically advanced titans of civilization must eventually bend to the weight of a changing climate. It's a direct warning and a deeply relevant lesson for our own modern global climate crisis.
They left us the ruins of their incredible cities. They left us their enduring DNA. But their deepest thoughts, their intimate histories, remain entirely locked away in those 419 undeciphered symbols. Which leaves us with one final provocative question to ponder today. As our own planet changes, what secrets will we leave behind in the silence?